Things that I did to start off my show today is that I brought up Senator Chuck Schumer because Chuck Schumer called what Trump's trying to do with the elections. He called it Jim Crow 2.0. And what I guarded against, I said, I've taken heat from the Democratic Party from time to time. You certainly have, on numerous occasions. And I said, don't get Trumpish. Don't engage in that kind of hyperbole because we're living in the year 2026. And when you start bringing up Jim Crow 2.0, you're trying to harken back to a time that most people recognize. No, we're not living in those times right now. Of course, we've got our troubles, but we're not doing. Don't do that because that's playing right into Trump's hands.
Now, Nicki Minaj has put the issue of voter ID back on the agenda, and the latest polling is clear. People of all colours, backgrounds and political persuasions want to see voter ID, except the hard left that dominate the media, political and activist class. Even CNN has had to admit that the overwhelming majority of Americans want voter ID.
83% in the last year of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj. They favor photo ID to be able to vote.
What about by party? What's the party breakdown?
Yeah, normally you might expect, hey, there'd be a big divide by party with Republicans really for it and Democrats really against it. But not really here. I mean, just take a look here. Favor photo ID to vote. You got 95% of Republicans, pretty much all of them, but even 71% of Democrats favor photo ID to vote.
Okay, that all seems rather emphatic, but what about the racial background? Because that's what the left has been arguing for years, that voter ID is racist.
85% of white people favor it, 82% of Latino, 76% of Black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country. A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that, in fact, you should have a photo ID to be able to vote.
Wow, 82% of Latino and 76% of Black voters favor voter ID, and yet the left will argue it is racist and designed to stop minorities from voting. Let's have a look at how the left view minority voters and voter ID. The casual bigotry you're about to hear is astounding. This is the bigotry of low expectations.
Do you have an opinion on voter ID laws?
Yeah, they're usually pretty racist and they're bad. I think voter ID laws are a way to perpetuate racism.
Would you go as far as say those laws are racist?
For sure.
Do you think it suppresses the African American vote?
Definitely.
Tell us how.
Because they're less likely to have state IDs.
Minority voters are less likely to have the kinds of IDs that have been described or required.
These type of people don't live in areas with easy access to DMVs or other places where they can get identification.
You can always get IDs you do over the internet. Does that also make it difficult for black people in particular?
Yeah, you have to have access to the internet. You have to be able to pay an internet service provider for certain fees.
Do you think that's harder for black people to go online?
Well, I feel like they don't have the knowledge of how it works.
A lot of people have smartphones, but you might not have data.
For most of the communities, they don't really know what is out there just because they're not aware or they're not informed.
I also think there's a repression of black voting with how if you're a convicted felon, you're not allowed to vote and everything. And when you look at swing states like Florida, that's a huge population of the African Americans.
Okay, let me get this straight. According to the left, people of color are either too dumb or too poor to have ID, or they're criminals. Let's bring in the man behind that Vox Pop, documentary filmmaker and commentator Ami Horowitz. Ami, before I get your input, let's have a look at you in East Harlem speaking to black folk about what white leftists think of their ability to get ID.
Do you carry ID?
Yes, I do.
Do you know any black person who doesn't carry ID?
No. Everyone that I know has an ID. Why would they think we don't have ID?
That's a lie. Why would they say that?
Do you have ID?
Yes.
Because I have my ID and my friends have their ID, so we know what we need to carry around.
Everybody that I know have ID. That's one of the things you need to walk around with New York with, ID.
Do you know any black adult who does not have ID?
No, I don't.
Is it a weird thing to even say that?
Yes, it is.
It is a weird thing to say, but here we are with the Democrats and the propagandists in the media claiming voter ID is inherently racist.
Yeah, who was that young, handsome man on camera? Wow, I barely recognize him anymore. Not to pat myself on the back, but that video has over 250 million views, Yeah, well, I guess I will pat myself on the back. What do you want from me?
No, that deserves a pat. That deserves a pat.
Thank you. A little background on that video. Not only is it crazy how they've made the argument that voter ID is racist, and that's really the argument the left, the entire left, not just the radical left, but the mainstream Democratic left has made. It's also they deny that there's voter fraud out there. And the reason why I made that video originally is because I was going to vote and in Los Angeles at the time, and my father had died just 6-7 months prior to that. And I went to vote, and his name was on the voter rolls, which I wasn't crazy because, he just died. I don't know how long it takes them to read the voter rolls, but somebody had voted for him, right? There's a check mark next to the name. And I said to the guy, my father died. He's dead. Somebody came in, gave his name, gave his address, because it's easy to look that up, and they voted for him. And that's what inspired me to do that video, because there's massive amount of voter fraud out there, and voter ID would eliminate a lot of that. But yeah, the racism of the left is on full display there. They couldn't imagine black people had the ability to vote, to have ID, think like a white person, right? That's the entire ethos of the left. And it's always about the left often mistakes and conflates class and race. They do that a lot. And the pushback I got from that video every time I was doing interviews from the left was saying, well, if you went to rural Alabama, they wouldn't have the same perspective because it's harder for them to go to get ID. I go, but rural Alabama or rural North Carolina are mostly poor white people. It's about poverty level, not about race. But by the way, just as an aside, even people in rural Alabama all have ID. This is a almost universal thing that people have ID. Yet I thank the left for that, Rita, because I've created a kind of a cottage industry doing videos about how the left is racist about black people when it comes to obesity. I remember I did an obesity video, same kind of idea. And they told me, the reason why there's more obesity in the black community is because Black people stress eat because of so much racism. And of course, I went to Harlem, they laughed at that. I kid you not, I couldn't make that up, right? Or defund the police, and call the people on the left for saying defund the police is wonderful. I go to Harlem and go, no, please. And we're the last people who want to defund the police. So yeah, it's just a hallmark of the left. Absolutely.